Hello and welcome to Logic Pro Bite Size for VIs. In this video we will be discussing the Midi note editor. It's a little bit daunting if you don't know what you're doing, and I'm going to talk you through the main portion of it, just the table, not necessarily all of the things outside of it, although I'll quickly glance over them a bit. But don't worry if that's not really the interesting bit. The best bit probably for you and the most important is the table and how to use it. So I have a little piece of audio recorded, well, MIDI recorded actually, and it's Twinkle Twinkle, and it goes like this. Oh, there's something wrong with that last note. Last few notes are quite loud, aren't they? So we should adjust them and fix them, I think. Let's jump straight in
one bar, one beat, one tick
to the MIDI editor with Command and 7.
Untitled logics, untitled piano event lists window, table, row 1 of 14, column 1, row 1, column 2, row 1, 111 scrubber group, note cell, 1 slider, C4 slider, 78 slider, 00399 scrubber group, selected.
That was a lot of information in one go. Don't worry, let's break it all down. When you interact with this table for the first time, and you should be looking for the table by the way, VoiceOver does normally put you on the table, but if you find that it doesn't, just have a little shifty around.
Table, out of event, queue, event group.
It's near the end of the window. I just stopped interacting just to show you around a little bit.
Piano, 14 events, piano, event group.
So when you get to the end of the window, it's 2 VO lefts to the left from there. Let's interact.
In event group, table, row 1 of 14, column 1, row 1, column 2.
Now we're on the table. I don't think we're in it though.
Table, row 1.
We have to interact again.
In table, row 1 of 14, column 1, row 1, column 2, row 1, 111 scrubber group, note cell, 1 slider, C4 slider, 78 slider, 00399 scrubber group, selected. L.
Right, so here's all that information. Let's ignore it and go piece by piece. So I'm going to do VoiceOver Home to begin with.
Empty cell, column 1, row 1, row 1.
Empty cell, row 1, column 1. So let's do VO right from here. What do we get?
M.
We get the letter M. You'll see these two first columns have L and M in them. Now I think this stems back to the days of program changes, but don't quote me on that. I've never seen these two columns in use ever. So I just ignore them. It's everything else that you're going to care about. So VO right here.
Position 111 scrubber group.
This is the position of the note. And you can adjust the position of the note by jumping into these segments.
In 111 scrubber group, 3 items, 1 segment 0 slider.
This is bar 1, by the way, and you may have yours set to 1111. This is all about how you have your logic set up, and there's nothing wrong if you have an extra 1 on the end. That is absolutely okay. So I have it set to only 3 levels of adjustment, if you will. So we've got bar 1,
1 slider,
beat 1,
1 segment 2 slider,
and tick 1. You may also have division at the end as well. So that is the very first bar and beat in the project. So I'll stop interacting with these, but you can interact and adjust these individually. Okay. Now I will actually adjust this to show what happens if you do.
In slider.
I'm in the very last one, ticks in my case, and I'll do VO right arrow.
111 scrubber group.
And it jumps around. And this is a known bug. And if you find that you have jumped around, you just basically have to re-find your place. This is an issue with the Logic MIDI event list editor, sorry, and it can be quite annoying. So let's see where we are now.
M. Position 11 status, note cell. Position 111 scrubber group. 111 scrubber group.
Didn't even adjust it at all. Yeah, you might find that too sometimes, but that's okay.
8 items, 8 in 111, 1 segment 2 slider 1.
See,
segment 2.
It didn't move. How about if I move the middle segment?
1 slider,
which is the beat segment.
in slider.
Will it allow me to do that?
121 scrubber group.
121. Yes, it did.
Status, note cell, position 121 scrubber group.
It's now on 121. So 1 bar, 2 beats, 1 tick. Okay, very good. So it's not allowing me to move the ticks today, but it did allow me to move the beat. Now I'm going to undo that because I do want it at bar 1 beat 1.
111 scrubber group, undo.
Right, let's move on because that's not all of it.
Status, note cell.
Status. This is a useful column to keep an eye on. And because it's a table, you can of course do VoiceOver down arrow and stay within that same column. If in this case we're going across each of these rows just to show you what's in them, but when you know what you're looking for, find the column that you want and navigate by VoiceOver up or down.
CH, 1 slider.
Channel 1, For the most part, you can ignore that. You probably will be broadcasting on MIDI channel 1 unless you have really specific reasons not to. There are 16 MIDI channels in the current MIDI standard, and most of the time you will be seeing CH1. That's channel 1.
Num. C4 slider.
Num. C4. Now, that is the note number, and it's set, in my case, to the more standard C4, like a piano would be. Yours, if you hear this exact note, this one, that might actually be C3 on your keyboard, and that's fine too. There are, again, in the display preferences for Logic, methods to set this up as C3 or C4, Yamaha or Roland style. They use different nomenclature, but it's the same thing at the end of the day. Just be sure that you're speaking to somebody that's working in the same method as you are, otherwise you may have a confusing time. So this note area
C4 slider
is a slider, and you can slide this note around, but I would advise not doing it that way, and I'll show you what to do in a minute. Next along.
Val 78 slider.
This vel, which sounds like Val, as if you're calling the lady called Valerie, is velocity, right? And that is how hard, or really how fast you play the note. If you play the note like that, it's quite quiet. I'm hitting it softly. Hit it harder. Right? So that is a value between 0 and 127. And you can indeed interact with this and adjust it.
Slider 68, 58, 48, 58, 68, 78, 88, 90, 88, 78.
And that's doing VO left and right arrow. But of course, if you want it to go in smaller increments, add the shift key.
79, 80.
So now it's exactly 80.
Out of slider.
Okay, that's velocity. Next.
Length info 00399 scrubber group.
00399. And this is just like position in that you may also have one final division at the end of yours. So let's break this down.
In 0 slider.
0 bars because it's not one whole bar long.
0 segment 1 slider.
0 beats because it's not one whole beat.
399.
399 ticks. So it's it's not quite one full beat. Now, because this is a difficult thing and interacting with these sliders and moving them is honestly a real pain, and I don't enjoy any aspect of it, I find it's easier to VO shift double space and type a value that you're looking for. For example, if I stop interacting here,
out of 00399 scrubber group,
and I'm gonna get this wrong, all right? Because I didn't do this before the video to practice like I should have. But let's see. If I do VO shift space and then type 0 1 and press enter, 0 space 1.
Val 80 slider length info 010 scrubber group.
Okay, I did it actually. So I have typed 0 bars, 1 beat, and 0 ticks.
In 0 1 0 set out of 0.
Now, if I press enter
1 bar 1 beat 1
and play this back, what happens?
1 bar 2 bars.
See, it's too long, so it's cut over the second note. But that is now officially the easiest way, I think, to type in values in this space. You may also want to do the same for position. So if you want your note to be at bar 5, beat 2, tick 1, you might want to do 5 space 2 space 1. So to get that again is to do VO shift double space on the position or the length slider or length segments, and then physically type those values in, because I find that this adjustment issue, and it is an issue, has been for a long time, is very, very cumbersome. I'm going to undo this change so that it just goes back to normal. I'll play it again.
1 bar 1 bar.
And there we go.
L.
So now, those are all the columns. We've done all of the columns in one row, and they're basically the same across the board. So the next note, also being a C, let's see what its tick value is.
CH, num, C, val, 90, length info, 00503 scrubber group.
Oh, I should say length value, not tick value. So if I do VO up, we'll hear the first note.
00399 scrubber group.
00399.
00503 scrubber group.
00503. So I played that second one longer. Okay, what about the first G in Twinkle Twinkle?
00446 scrubber group.
00446.
8 items selected.
That one didn't even read.
008 items selected.
Ah, hold on, I think we've come across one of these controllers I was talking about. So if I do VO left, we may get to the status cell.
Val, 1 num, G4, CH, 1 slider, num, G4 slider.
No, it's a G4, so why did you not read?
8 items selected.
Okay.
8 items selected.
Aha! I'm actually glad you're seeing this error with me. Some days Logic will perform very nicely, and other days it behaves like an errant toddler. And it's behaving like an errant toddler today. But it comes and goes, alright? It's never the same on any given day. Today, it is behaving in such a way that you can't always read the value that you need to read. So you have to do a VO left-right arrow to get the information that you need to hear.
Val G4 slider.
It's also very loud.
Val 101 slider.
Because that value is 101, that velocity. So that's a loud G4. But this is not the loudest one yet. I've already shown you how to adjust velocity, but I'm going to go down these lists and adjust the last one or two.
70, 89 slide, 8 items, 96, 8 items, 81, 127 slider.
Oh, that's 127. That D, let's drop that down. It's very loud.
In slide 100, 80, 77.
All right, there we go.
Slide 8 items selected.
That one is also loud.
Val 127 slider.
Another 127. I think we'll drop that down as well. It's a bit noisy, isn't it?
In slide 197.
There we go.
Out of slider.
So now let's play it back.
1 bar.
There's a loud F in there as well. We'll just quickly fix that.
7, 8, 96 slider. 8 items selected. Val 78 slider. 96 slider. Val 96.
96.
86.
Let's drop that to 86. There we go.
Slider.
And let's fix this rogue C#. Now, there are very few keyboard shortcuts in the current version of Logic. I hope this gets addressed in Logic 11, but as of the time of recording this video, we're on 10... Do you know what? I don't remember. 10.8.1? Do you know? I'm not even sure. Ignore the version number. It doesn't matter. It's 10.8 something. Okay? But there are not enough hotkeys in this window. So there's no easy way to adjust the velocity or the length, but there is at least one to adjust transposition. So with that in mind, let's adjust transposition of one note. And that is the last note in the list. Now, I've been telling you all this time to navigate using VoiceOver in the table. There's another way to do this, and it's just not to use VoiceOver at all. So if I close the window,
Untitled Logics, Untitled Tracks window.
I will now do Command 7 and go back into this MIDI event, sorry.
Untitled Logics, Untitled Piano Event Lists window.
The piano event list. And I'm just going to use the right arrow because it most of the time behaves a little better when you do this.
8 items selected.
And as long as you can hear the notes, and yes, we know it says 8 items selected, there are 8 columns in each of these cells, and that's why it says 8 items. But if you know the music and you can ignore what VoiceOver is telling you, and all you want to do is adjust the transposition of the note, then it's going to be easier for you to just do Option up or down arrow, or Option Shift up down arrow. And now I have fixed my rogue C. So that's very nice. It's one of the few areas where you are able to use keyboard shortcuts. Another one, even though it's not necessarily as convenient, is that you can simply highlight a note that you want to move and press semicolon when you move the playhead. So just like when you're moving regions around on the main tracks window, if you find the part where you want to drop your note and you know exactly where it needs to be to the bar, beat, and tick and division, which some of you will, of course, you can simply put the playhead at that point, hit semicolon, and you're off to the races. That's very, very convenient. So that's another method. Right, for my last trick of the day, I'm going to close this window,
Tracks group.
and I'm going to unsolo this piano track,
Toggle channel strip solo off.
and go down to
Track 2 drums.
drums, and I'm going to solo this one instead.
Toggle channel strip solo on. 1 bar, 1 beat, 1 tick.
Here's a very boring drum track that I put in earlier.
1.
So what I'm going to do with that is go back into the Midi event list, but this time I'm going to show you how to replace more than one note at a time. Oh yes. So basically we're going to be doing essentially drum replacement, or note replacement if you will. So let's say that we wanted all of our snare drums to be rim shots or side sticks as your nomenclature decides, and we want to do it all in one go. Well, we know how to do it singularly. Let's go and do that.
Untitled Logics, Untitled Drums, Event List win.
I'll press the right arrow
8 items.
until we get to the first note that I want to change.
8 items selected.
There it is. And I will just do an Option down arrow. And then I'll play it back.
1 bar. 1 bar.
Oh, that's not very good, is it? Only one of them's done it. What about the rest of them? Okay, I'm going to undo that with Command Z.
8 column.
And now,
8 items.
I want the entirety of those snares, which is currently D2, to be C#2. That's C#2. And I will do that with this key, Control Shift F.
64 items selected.
That now selects every D2 in the project and has got it ready for manipulation. I could nudge it with nudge commands, as your nudge commands exist in your key map, or I can transpose it with option down arrow here.
64.
So now all of them are on C#2. And if you're using VoiceOver key map, you can use nudge features, for example, like option right arrow to move, or control in the number row to move your snares around, or your drums as needed. So now every single snare that was once a snare is now a side stick. Let's hear that.
1 1.
Drum replacement. Simple, easy, effective. Why don't you turn them all into toms or something completely random? Let's try a tom.
64 items selected. 64.
Yeah, there we go. So now they're all toms. And I didn't have to reselect them because I didn't unselect anything. So because they're still selected, every drum that I already had selected stays selected.
1 bar, 1 bar.
So there we go. Drum replacement. Simple, effective, and easy. That's a bit about the MIDI event editor. Not a lot, admittedly. There's quite a bit extra in here. But that's the basics. If you'd like a more in-depth video on some of the other things found within, for example, some of the checkboxes around the table area, then I will do that upon request. But for now, I will leave you be. Thank you for watching and listening. See you again soon.